Hello, my name is Philip Totaro. I'm the founder and CEO of market research firm IntelStor. Welcome to your weekly dose of truth to power. Truth to Power examines data-driven insights for the energy sector with a focus on renewables. On this week's episode, I'll take a look at the wind energy projects in the USA which would benefit from a new power offtake agreement with data centers. Well, a new research note with the latest analysis from IntelStor is out this week. And in it, we take a look at data center demand in the USA and how that can help financially underperforming projects regain profitability. The USA has a rare opportunity to mate one of the cheapest electricity generation sources together with the surging demand for data centers. Doing so can even mitigate curtailments and end the negative profitability problem of a small percentage of wind energy projects throughout the USA. Specifically, these projects are not generating enough electricity and selling it at a high enough price to allow the asset owner to turn a profit on the project during the planned asset lifetime. This occurs regardless of the power purchase contract price or even positive technical performance in some cases. As of the end of 2025, the USA still has more than 14.36 gigawatts of wind energy projects, which are underwater on profitability. They're spread across 231 different project sites in 31 different states, and that constitutes approximately 9.4% of the total installed capacity for onshore wind energy in the USA. That certainly outpaces other countries where you have projects that contribute to a profitability underperformance totaling more than 20% of the installed capacity of the market. But we can always make improvements. For some of these projects which are not turning a profit, they tend to fall into one of three categories for the cause of their profitability risk exposure. On the one hand, power purchase contract prices below about $31 a megawatt hour, regardless of the technical performance, tends to have an adverse impact. Even for some projects where power purchase contract prices are above $40 a megawatt hour, but the technical performance is below a P75. That P75 is a measure of the probability that the asset will produce at least 75% of the predicted electricity measured by the pre-construction power output estimate. Lastly, how projects have profitability risk exposure is that projects that are on merchant power contracts, which see massive fluctuations in price year on year within a particular ISO region, they also tend to have profitability risk exposure. So markets like ERCOT, for example, see this quite often. And Texas certainly leads the United States in projects that underperform on profitability, partly due to curtailments, but also because of these wild fluctuations in merchant market prices. Many projects with these traits of poor performance have suffered because they did not have an opportunity to negotiate a higher power purchase contract price when the project was still in development. In particular, power purchase agreements, which were struck between 2018 and 2020 in the USA, had extremely low average prices, with an all-time low deal at just $8.94 a megawatt hour for a NextEra energy project in Arizona. In this scenario, developers were hoping to repower these project sites and get a better PPA in the process, but recent changes to the tax credit qualification renders this strategy for repowering a bit void, at least for now. At the time, project developers were unwilling to lose their place in line for an interconnection review, and so they just accepted a power offtake contract with a lower than average price in many cases to ensure that they were able to capture production tax credits as they moved through the development and permitting process and got their steel in the ground and got their project operational. Now, these asset owners with underperforming projects would desperately love an opportunity to both renegotiate power offtake agreements for these projects and potentially also repower, whether there are tax credits or not. The confluence of data center demand, The impact of increasing curtailments from grid operators, as well as poor profitability for the power generators, has opened the door to a solution that should be a perfect match as long as political leaders do not interfere. At the end of 2025, the country saw more than 7 million enterprise industrial servers shipped during the year, with a significant spike in multiprocessor server units dedicated to artificial intelligence functions. There are currently more than 31 million enterprise industrial servers installed throughout the United States, with a total electricity consumption of approximately 185 terawatt hours as of the end of 2025. They have an average power per processing unit, either a central processing unit, a CPU, or a graphics processing unit, a GPU, of between 500 watt hours and 6 kilowatt hours per unit. According to IntelStor estimates, by 2030, the USA will have more than 40 million enterprise industrial servers installed, with a total electricity demand for those data centers of approximately 468 terawatt hours. The reason that it's spiking so much is that the number of units being deployed for artificial intelligence functions require the higher end of the power range per processing unit. And they're going to become the majority of the installed base for servers and data centers moving forward. These additions for the data center industry will necessitate approximately 94 gigawatts of power, which will be required to operate in an average capacity factor of at least 32% to meet that growing demand. Data centers dedicated to data storage have been a fairly flat and consistent baseload like demand. And from that, one might infer that this would lend itself to natural gas, hydropower, or other baseload power, which is more commonly used in the power generation industry today to fulfill that need. But data centers for data storage will only comprise about 28% of the total installed data center capacity by 2030. Data centers for AI functions, in the meantime, will see strong variability in their computing load. And as I just mentioned, those are going to become the majority of the installed capacity for enterprise industrial servers. Therefore, those kind of data centers with AI capabilities will see a wildly fluctuating demand for power at any given time. When matched with either wind energy or solar without any energy storage or intelligent grid management capabilities, this could lead to significant challenges in meeting demand with a variable input supply. In markets like ERCOT in Texas, this wide variance in demand and supply could lead to significant spikes, including negative pricing during times of low data center demand or significant merchant market power price increases when data center load is spiking. That exposes the entire market to a substantial amount of risk. And because of that, energy storage technology will play a pivotal role in time shifting power delivery to meet that variable demand, regardless of the power generation source. The USA currently has a renewable energy pipeline of more than 30 gigawatts of onshore wind energy that is set to be built in the next 5 years. That's taking into account everything that's been safe harbored prior to the changes in the tax code, as well as everything that we expect to be able to meet the needs of the current tax code by getting start of construction underway by July 4th of this year. While much of this power is directed to utilities in order to offset the planned obsolescence of existing power plants that are set to be retired, there's a need for more capacity to support data center demand. For existing projects that would not be co-located with a data center or would not otherwise provide power directly under a PPA, renewable energy certificates, or RECs, can be sold or traded for the power produced by, amongst other things, these 14.36 gigawatts worth of projects that are currently underperforming financially in the US and potentially offset any future underperformance by avoiding curtailments. Given the stability of demand as well as growth to support data center power offtake, asset owners with a financially challenging project could see the influx of revenue required in order to repower a project or otherwise turn a profit they may not have expected. The promise of matchmaking data centers with wind energy and offset by this time shifted energy storage capacity is an enormous opportunity, and it can lead to a more prosperous electricity market overall. Asset owners and project developers need to leverage data center power sales that can turn around failing projects and use that data center demand as a way to ensure that they never run into an asset profitability challenge again. Thank you for joining me this week. I'm Philip Totaro, and this has been your weekly dose of truth to power. Follow us on IntelStor's YouTube channel as well as your favorite audio platforms, and visit www.telstore.com to join more than 250,000 subscribers to our renewable energy data solutions. A full analysis of the current state of the U.S. wind energy market is available to Research Note subscribers. And you can register today for the next Wind Summit event in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Visit www.windsummit.org and join hundreds of your industry colleagues to discuss all the latest trends in O&M. We hope to see you there.